Tests. All right, vocals are looking good. All right. Good evening, everyone. If you're watching this in the morning, good morning. Hope everyone's had a great weekend and a fulfilling weekend. And yeah, I hope everyone's had time to take a look at what they've got coming on this upcoming week. We've got a really good set of events coming up in the coming weeks. So 5x5, awesome. ISA Eric Shaw, good to see you. Welcome to the channel. We have a couple of things to look at this week. We're going to take a look at where we think the weekly bias is going to take us this week. And yeah, we had a fantastic last week. We alerted where our draw on liquidity was, and it went exactly there. So we're going to take a look at that in a moment, and we'll talk through what we think is going to happen this week. So let's head over to the charts right now. And first things first, we're going to take a look at our economic calendar. This is what frames our week, right? This is what we look for. We see nothing happening on Monday. So chances are a lot of the stuff's going to probably happen either. There's a lot that's happened in Asia already, but we're thinking about this from a weekly, daily perspective when we think about weekly bias. So whatever happens today, it's going to be a part of the week's overall flow. So Tuesday, existing home sales. So 10 o'clock, you're going to get some volatility. That's going to be the play of the day. Wednesday, of course, flash PMI. Thursday, you've got unemployment claims, and then Friday, core PCE at 8:30 in the morning for both of those. So early in the morning, you're going to get some really nice moves, ideally. And we're thinking about this in a way where Thursday and Friday are going to be where the majority of these moves end up either reversing or occurring. But the flash PMI at 9:45 is going to help us frame our Wednesday. Either Wednesday is going to be our low or high of the week, potentially even Thursday as well. So let's take a closer look at the charts and see what we've got going on, though, over here. So first things first, we're going to take a look at the dollar index. So I'm going to bring over TradingView right now to take a look at this. And if we take a look over here, trying to find where that maximize button is. I need to do one of these. There we go. Okay, so I'm on this weekly chart. I'm going to maximize this so you can see a little bit more. So over here on the weekly chart, we can kind of see we've been in this area of consolidation on the weekly chart. We see all the grand scheme of things. We've been going lower on the dollar, and overall since 2010, dollar's been rising in general. Here we see that there's prolonged periods of consolidation before the next move, right? So here we're still in this area of consolidation. We've not taken out these relative equal highs here, and in fact we failed to do so. We came up into this bearish order block in a premium, and we sold off from there. This past week we had a nice green week for the dollar, but at the end of the day we came down, took out sell stops. I'm thinking that since we continue to fail to make higher highs and we've started to make lower lows, I still think dollar lower. Maybe we aim for these lows down here. Maybe we aim for the relative equal lows down here. I don't know, but either way, I don't think it's, I mean, if it's time for us to sell off, then so be it. We should see dollar rise up and aim for this short-term high and these relative equal highs here. We have yet to remain to see what happens here. There is a slight dollar imbalance here. So you can see how that's an imbalance there. On the way up, there's this imbalance that we traded down to, and then we traded further down the following week to aim for this liquidity. The previous week, we took out this liquidity and then traded up the rest of the week, which dollar up typically means indices down. So that being said, we know that there's a lot of I guess there's a lot of question marks whether or not we're going to be going lower this week. So right now, if dollar decides that, hey, I want to start my week going lower, then so be it. Right now, that's how that candle looks. We started and we instantly went lower, right? While it is common, or while it isn't uncommon for us to have a candle start like that and just immediately go lower, it is fairly uncommon if you look back at all of these candles for a week to simply start at a price, trade lower, and continue to trade lower, right? So as you can see on every single one of these candles, there's always been a wick, save for this one down here. Now, keep in mind, it started up here, had a wick, and then it closed very, very close to where, and let me zoom in on this one a bit. So you can see that up on the top left, you can see these numbers here. Hey, what's up, Infinitely? Good to see you. Hopefully your weekends went well, and are you ready to get some trade on? So we're just talking about candles which tend to close their body as well as the low. So if you look at the close, it's 106.292. The actual low is 106.281. So there's a tiny wick down here that you're not seeing. So there's always going to be some kind of wick here, right? So fast forward over here, we see that the high was 104.365 and the open was 104.365. Is that going to hold this week? I think not. So I think that dollar is probably going to go lower to maybe capture an initial move lower, and then maybe we expand up into this weekly imbalance that we see here that was formed. I think that that's going to be our draw on liquidity on dollar. What does that mean for prices? That means lower prices on indices. So this first one is what I'm looking for us to travel up into. Now, another thing to consider is if we take this high to this low, this is not in a discount. It is actually above equilibrium here. That is if I take from wick to wick there. Now, if I go from body to body, we see that it's even higher. So from my perspective, a move of dollar back up into this area would make a lot of sense, or even above this wick's midpoint. So Infinitely says, good, thanks you. Yeah, I had a good weekend. I'm kind of injured on my left foot though, so I have to stay in a boot all day. But I was able to get a doctor's note to sit at home, rest the foot, elevate it, rest, ice, elevate, just kind of keep it off of its get off of my feet for a while, so hopefully that will let me be able to find some really nice trades on Wednesdays, because now we have this 3-day return to office scheme that I know a lot of people are not too fond of. So but it is what it is, yep, exactly, the orthotic boot, exactly. So you're very much aware of that. So yeah, gotta do that. So yeah, it's not fun, but it is what it is. So anyways, so on our dollar index, that's where we think we're gonna target. If dollar is gonna move lower to head higher, I would expect a Monday slight move lower like we see here, and then a ending the week kind of green. So we'll see if that happens. And maybe it comes up here and then sells off at the end of the week as well, right? Disco, Johnny, I've got 20 PAs right now. Awesome, man. You're killing it. Dude, I love that. I love hearing that. I love hearing people getting successful with their trading. That's really awesome, man. I hope you can maintain really calm, collected copy trading. It's very, very fun and very, very rewarding when you can copy trade one contract and across 20 accounts and minimize risk, right? So really, really congratulations. That's a really phenomenal achievement there, brother. Good to see you. So what else are we gonna see this week? So dollar, we think that it's going to come higher. If we take a look here, it would make sense for us then. We took out sell side here, right? Sell side, sell side, sell side. We dug into that and immediately balanced higher. So what do I think is going to happen? I think we're going to get some days that reach up into this area. It also happens to be a daily bearish order block here. And we also have, let's see, did this rebalance a fair value gap? It did. So from here to here, we can see that this would be above our equilibrium of this dealing range here. Now, yeah, could I go all the way up to, could I possibly go all the way up to this high here and see what that equilibrium is? Of course I can. But the reason why I'm using this as our dealing range is because I have an intermediate term high here. Because we immediately rebalanced this sell side imbalance, okay? Infinitely, how do they even allow that? That's amazing, Disco. Yeah. I mean, Apex Trading is really one of the best firms, I gotta admit. Oh, that was another thing. If you've been on my channel, it's, you know, we've gone through, and, you know, obviously this is my link. You can use somebody else's link if you want to, but obviously if you use my link, it helps the channel. But now I got a special Johnny code, so JONNY. It makes it a lot easier for people to just type in Johnny and get the latest discount. So right now there's like an 80% discount going on. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have my own code now. I think that it should show here as well on the when you look at these. I'm actually going to be looking at a few of these 300Ks, but the 50Ks are really fun, and they're easier to pass. If you can use lower micros to pass them, it's fantastic to trade them. So keep it up, Disco. I know you're going to do great things. I can't wait to hear about hear about all the great profit that you take out. So great work. So dollar, again, I think it's going to come up here. That means indices should go lower for a little bit. But what's happening with indices? Let's take a look. So we're going to take a look at the weekly NASDAQ for now. So weekly on the NASDAQ, we see that we dipped down into this weekly buy-side imbalance. We had mentioned that we want to go down into that area, right? So if you recall, I think it was here. So earlier last week, I said, hey, go to the weekly charts, see if the overall macro has changed. Go from Tuesday, May 28th to Monday, July 8th, and then look at the equilibrium, right? So this was my draw on liquidity. I gave you a little bit of a nudge in terms of what my draw on liquidity was last week, right? So what does that look like? That draw on liquidity, Tuesday, here, that's my 50% mark here. And what else is down here? Well, we've got a short-term low. We have a weekly buy-side imbalance. And what did price do? It went straight down for that immediately. So what's going to happen next? Well, I see this as both these candles, I kind of treat this as a potential shift in delivery. Now, we only took out a sell side liquidity there very briefly, right? Same way we took out a sell side here, here, and here, but none of these were intermediate term lows. In fact, the only intermediate term low was back here. Now we have a new intermediate term low at the IPTA 60-day low. And so what I'll be doing is I'm considering this low to be the intermediate term low, and I actually have this one as a new intermediate term low too. So until price gets below this low down to 18,519, I'm still overall bullish, okay? Now, does that mean that we can't come all the way down and fill out the rest of this buy side imbalance, maybe even trading down to this bullish order block? Of course not. We can retrace all the way down there, and that would still be within optimal trade entry area. So I think that we can get another week where we maybe trade a little bit lower. We've already traded to equilibrium, so we are more prone as we go lower to find certain ways to reverse and head up higher. So I am still looking for indications of long with short-term shorts in mind in the beginning of the week, okay? Could this completely rally and take this out? Yeah, of course. That would be me, like I would end up taking a losing trade or two, right? But at the end of the day, what's more likely? Well, we did take sell side here. So potentially, let's see if there are areas within this sell side imbalance to bounce up into before heading lower. So let's go down to a daily chart now. So remember, daily chart has this weekly, these orange lines are weekly imbalances, right? So we want to think, okay, well, where will the next daily candle expand to? Or where in the week are we, so that lets me know where we might expand to. So right now we are bouncing off of this buy side imbalance here that we see. Even on the daily chart, there's this buy side imbalance as well. We did not trade to more than half of this. So I'm thinking that we could trade up higher, maybe the first couple of days of the week into this sell side imbalance. And then we now have relative equal lows down here as potential targets and this weekly buy side imbalance. So I think we can trade up into this sell side imbalance, maybe institutional order flow entry drill, or trade up to half, and then we trade lower for the end of the week. That's what my most ideal case would be right now. I don't know if we're going to get that, right? But I do think that there's a possibility for that, for sure. Okay. So let's see. Okay. I wanted to check one more thing as well. While we're looking at these higher time frames, I also want to look at ES on a weekly, right? So this is a similar chart. ES came down, traded all the way down to its weekly down close candle, and is now currently trying to trade back up, right? This type of engulfment, when we have like this candle completely engulf it, typically means that we've got some fireworks to the downside in planned. So ES, keep this in mind on ES, right? Whereas over in Dow, we kind of like made a new all-time high and traded all the way down. So for ES, I imagine that in the coming week, we're going to have a little bit of green, maybe up back into this sell side imbalance. There's a smaller one up there too, but I think this is more likely. And then we potentially sell lower. So keep ES in mind when you're thinking about charts. It'll help you greatly to determine whether or not NASDAQ, a correlated chart, might actually do something as well. So, okay, so we know that NASDAQ, there's a likelihood that it can trade upwards first. Obviously, key core areas to target will be the previous 1, 2, and 3 day highs. 3 day, like, the midpoints of any wicks, midpoints of any fair value gaps, fair value gap low points. All of those you want to consider when you're thinking about what price can travel up to before it sells off. So in my mind, it makes the most sense for us to go a little higher first, maybe make people think that we're still going higher, and then sell off. That's what I'm thinking is likely to happen. Now, a second scenario would be, hey, this just becomes really heavy day 1, day 2, and it just sells all the way off down to the bottom of this weekly profile. So I remind you, it's this area here. So what happens if we sell lower? Well, we can target these other weekly levels here. These weekly optimal trade entry levels would be what I would look for next if our play doesn't pan out and it doesn't go higher. Maybe it goes lower first. Those weekly levels of 19,250 and 19040 would be my last resort, like final levels before the candles close below it, and then we just completely drop, right? So yeah, that's what I'm thinking for indices for NASDAQ specifically. And yeah, so that's what I'm looking for this week. I think that we definitely can head higher still. Just briefly, the monthly candle on NASDAQ has turned dark as well. Now, keep this in mind as well. When we think about the monthly candle, think about where we are at in the month. There's about 1 week and 3 days left, right? So 5, 6, 7, 8 days left out of a 20, roughly 22 day monthly calendar month. So sorry, I've got an itch on my eye. So what does that mean? That means there's not much time for this to completely flip over and go green. So it would make sense for us to continue lower into this monthly dynamic buy-side imbalance and maybe come down here, touch that. Worst case, comes all the way down here and touches the bullish order block too. So you need to put all these together when you're thinking about where your bias is going to be, because my bias is more framed towards short-term short with a long-term macro outlook. So we'll see what happens on the day of tomorrow. We'll see where Monday takes us, and we'll kind of go from there, you know? So that's what I'm thinking was going to happen in terms of the daily and weekly charts. I think that we're going to bounce around between this sell side imbalance and then these short-term lows, these relative equal lows rather, and we'll see if we can better perform and better create new areas, new dealing ranges, right? So that's it. I mean, my weekly bias ends there with the weekly and daily. There's no point in going down into the 4 hours or below because 1, the market's open right now, and then 2, we have quite a bit of a move already, even with the new week opening gap having opened right here. Let me drag one of these over. So now, I don't know why this isn't showing up, but there it is. Okay, cool. I had to get to the 1 minute mark. So this is where we kind of ended it, and then this is where we opened. So now we have our new week opening gap. We see that price is coming down. It's coming down. It filled in a fair value gap here. It might even go down further. I don't know. But at least we have this new week opening gap kind of marked out here, so we know what price can refer to. There happens to be, this happens to be a buy side down close candle before move up, so a bullish order block. So I think we're gonna see, we've already seen a reaction to it right here. I think we're gonna continue to see that occur. So yeah, I think, again, like, I'm probably gonna, I'll probably chime in the community notes as best I can, but some days if I have to work early, I probably won't be able to. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that this is where we get our bias from. If you have a separate bias, that's okay. Stick with that. Stick with your own bias first, and then compare and contrast the reasons why your bias was right or wrong. Obviously, if your bias is wrong, you can come back here and see what I was talking about on Sunday and see if it panned out because of certain reasons. And it's very well possible that I could be completely wrong, right? But that's what I kind of like plays out in my head, and that's what's gonna frame my mind in the first couple of weeks here, is like a return back a bit, make bulls come back in, think like, hey, this is a typical sell-off, and then yeah, I think it's gonna sell off, but we'll see, because what's really, really interesting is that next week is FOMC rates, right? So if you look on your calendar, let me pull it up here. So if you look at next week, we see we've got JOLTS on Tuesday, FOMC statement on Wednesday, unemployment claims on Thursday, as well as ISM manufacturing PMI. And then Friday, you got like average hourly earnings. So a lot of stuff in that last week. I think it's going to be a fun time. But yeah, I think that's it, though, for this week. That's what I'm going to be focusing on. Try to keep it as simple as possible. I have right now, to give you an update as to like where I'm at, as you recall, I had gone to Japan and I got really rusty. I had a lot of drawdown. I wasn't managing risk well. So a lot of my accounts are down to like, 600, 700. I have a handful of accounts that are down to like $600 or $700 left. So I want to make sure that I can, and some of them are like $400, right? So I'm going to try to sort of slowly build those up. And then of course there's the new TraderVate account that's pretty much at nothing, $0, pretty much still at 50K right now. And then of course I'll be trading some of the 300K evaluations, because $85 for a performance fee for the 300Ks is just something that's so hard to pass up. That's just incredible, right? So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be passing a few 300Ks hopefully. And then, I don't know. From there, we'll see. We can kind of start to see that we are getting a bit of movement below these short-term lows. We're starting to get some movement back to the downside. So I imagine this liquidity void will be taken out soon, at least at some point today or this week. Okay, let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Okay, so we've got those PA accounts there, and then we have a few evaluation accounts. Right now I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so. 6 or so 300K evaluations. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get those handled before August. August is when you've got, the last time for the sale to be $85 per lifetime fee. Dusko, thanks for your work. Greetings from Europe. Oh man, Dusko, greetings from Europe, man. Hope you're staying safe there. I love Europe. Can't wait to go again sometime. I would love to hit up that whole area again. But yeah, so yeah, it doesn't look like there's any questions in there in the chat, but if any do come up later, just let me know. I'll probably see them tomorrow morning, early morning. But yeah, I think that's it. We'll keep it nice and short today so that you can get off, get some sleep, go get some food, maybe get a dessert, get some water. Make sure you stay hydrated, right? So yeah, I definitely am going to be going over and I'll be going and picking up a few more 300Ks to pass soon. I just, the 80% off sale is just so good, and I need to replenish some of the 50Ks that I ended up blowing because of my June, my weird post Japan trip where I got so rusty. I pretty much thought like, wow, like what happened here, So going on vacation, getting rusty, it's a real thing. I was surprised, so I've kept the risk very low. Okay, so I think that's it. So watch out for this. This looks like it completely rebounded, V-shaped. So again, I do like a movement up to here. I hope London gives us something to work with up there during New York. But this week, Mondays are Mondays, Fridays are Fridays. I would not recommend trading heavy on those days. All right. Okay, so All right, so I don't think there's any other questions. Let me make sure that there's no one else on the stream. Got like 4 folks watching. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this is valuable. I will, again, as we get closer, like Monday, Tuesday, once we get those in the books, I will update folks on the community tab where I think that the weekly draw is going to take us. And so that's something that I'll continue to hone each day and recalibrate. So thank you very much, folks. I'll go ahead and close down. Good luck. Make sure you mark out all your London highs, Asia highs, relative equal lows, intermediate term highs from days back, and then we'll see how things go, right? So good luck this week. We'll chime in again Sunday of next week, okay? And I'll see you on the community tab shortly, and have a great rest of the evening and get some rest, okay? Good seeing you all. Take care. We'll talk soon. See ya. Peace.